Okay, you are back. You have joined. Turn out the lights. Get to your quiet place. Then call. Join the seance.
Hi, my name is Candy.
I knew that, dearie. I was told. We made love in Mauritania once. I was a swan. Let me guess. Of course, it's not real guess. It's forces beyond our comprehension speaking through me. But let me guess. You're a Virgo this time, right?
No, a Gemini.
That's what they told you. I know. But you have Virgo rising.
No, actually, I think I had Libra rising.
I know, but I'm not looking at simplistic, superficial astrology. Anyone can do that. I'm looking deeper into the cosmos, behind Libra, tucked away next to the neutron star. To the left of Virgo, too, was the Virgin. It was also rising. And it is this conflict between the scales, the twins, and the dreaded Virgin and the tax collector. It is this conflict that is tearing you apart. This is why sometimes you feel deep melancholy and heart-piercing grief, and why you seek solace in strangers, right? I bet you did not know that.
No, I thought it was because I had a troubled childhood.
Of course you did. Your parents did not understand you. How could they, Candy?
They tried, but I was...
They were aliens. And you're an alien hunter who had her memory wiped, and you keep having a dream where an alien fetus crawls out of your stomach and poops. Only you can't remember it. That's the whole point. I'm speaking to the cosmos right now. Hello? Hello? It is telling me everything is going to be okay. As long as you buy and read my book very carefully. Will you do that?
Sure.
But wait. Nothing. Rather than waste decades into training and meditating to speak to the other side, you can now take a shortcut right out of your online bank account. Hold on. It's telling me something. It's telling your luck will change if you spread knowledge. Buy 20 copies of my book. It's a clear message I'm getting from the depths of a different dimension. Will you do that? I'm sorry. We must have a bad connection. Interference with the spirit world happens. Are you ready to descend into the realms of Hades? I was there this morning. I have studied everything. Greece, Cyprus, Lipari, ancient religions, chaotic pasts, sex magic where you strangle the person afterwards. Fantastic! It answers really important questions. The number is 212-360-2367. Hello, line 4. You have 5 minutes. The meter is running.
Yeah, Beatrix Fontaine? Tell me why I should have to pay for advice. It's insulting. If you've got a gift, you should share it for free.
My. You've become quite a little firebrand since running that tavern in Krakow 500 years ago.
Really? Wait, tell me.
Yes, you're in the tavern. It is in Krakow. Yes, I am seeing it happen. You're wiping the bar with a rag and... Do you remember a fat man?
I don't know.
You and the fat man are having an argument in the tavern. Oh no! A woman leaves quickly, shouting. I'm seeing it very vividly as if it were happening right in front of me. He's screaming. You're screaming. I hate you. I hate you. It's in Polish, but the spirit world has translated it for me. Have you ever hated someone?
Yeah.
I knew this like the hand of my back. You have loved someone you hated. You have conflicting feelings. Oh no. You are holding the man in a headlock. You are enraged.
Fucking A! Am I gonna kill him?
You are about to smash his head on the bar.
Awesome! What next?
Now you are holding his head in your hands. Now you are kissing him.
What?
Yes, you are kissing him with the tongue now. He is grabbing your long hair, shoving his tongue deep inside your mouth. You are really enjoying this. The passion is exploding. Your hand is reaching for his groin.
Oh, God! No way! No fucking way!
The abyss does not lie. Now he has his hand down your trousers. You are very engorged.
Oh.
You have done this before.
Oh.
You know it is wrong, but you cannot help yourself.
Oh my God, no!
Oh, yes. You are about to take it from the big man now. Ugh.
Hello, all you ladies and gents. Please excuse me, I've got a cold. Um, Hi there, welcome to Almanac Paranormal Season 2, Podcast 22. Hope you had a wonderful Thursday. Please, everyone, make yourself at home. And if you have any questions for our special guests, don't be shy, because questions are always welcome here. Every one of you means so much to me, and you are all very important to this channel. So I do like to welcome everyone in the chat by name. If I haven't greeted you immediately, I promise I will get to you. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe to us, and don't forget to hit the bell icon to get the notifications when we go live. And lastly, if you like what we're doing, give us a like. It would be most appreciated. So now let's get on with the show. And let me introduce our guest. Matthew Stapley is a natural gifted, fully sensory, excuse me, psychic medium, ordained and licensed minister, inspirational speaker, and healing facilitator. His professional career began at the age of 17, and since that time, he has been featured in dozens of publications, podcasts, television shows. He has created 2 oracle card decks and has assisted thousands of people worldwide in working through grief, self-acceptance, and fear. He's also the creator of a weekly live stream show attracting hundreds of viewers from across the globe through his Facebook page, Matthew Stapley, Psychic Medium. Aside from his incredible talent of providing evidence of life after death through mediumship, Matthew has also garnered the attention of people worldwide with his unique ability of looking at life's very real and very difficult problems with the lens that sees the intricate architecture, and underlying benefits of the challenges that we all face in our day-to-day lives. His area of expertise is grief, self-acceptance, self-discovery, the energy behind our emotions, world change, realistic and tangible positive thinking, evidential spirit communication, and overcoming. So let's welcome our guest.
That was a huge introduction. I hope I can live up to it.
Oh, you can, most definitely. So I like to welcome everybody. So I want to say hello, Carrie, and welcome, Christy. Selena, hey. Robbie, hello. Let's see who else is in there. Linda, hello, welcome. Gloria, Maria, Frank, hello. And Steph and Sylvia, welcome everybody. And Kelly. Sorry about that.
No, I love it. Are you kidding? I think that actually is incredibly beautiful, and I'm glad I could watch it.
Oh my goodness, we keep getting more people. There's Melissa and Diane, Janine, hey, and Margaret. So before we could even get anything. And Amy, Full Dark Paranormal, hey. So why don't we talk about, you've got something coming up that you want to share with everybody?
I do. On January 23rd, I'm starting a 6-week development class. It is kind of unique in the sense that it's online, but it's very hands-on, very practical. There's a lot of one-on-one, a lot of group instruction, a lot of one-on-one people practicing, a lot of one-on-one support for me. And my method of teaching is to show people how they're already connected, because I believe that everybody is connected to the universe and spirit and everything else. So the course is really about figuring out how people are already receiving and learning to do it on purpose with intention. So asking certain questions or trying to make certain connections or whatever. And it's great for anybody of any level. So whether you've never even heard the word psychic or medium before, or you're actually already doing readings, it caters to all levels at the same time. So it is, it's exciting. I'm excited.
I know.
Yeah.
So there you go, guys. Oh goodness, we got some more people in here. Carla, Crystal, let's see. And Carrie. Oh, there we go. So let's get down to getting to know you.
Sure.
So when was the first time you realized you had abilities?
Well, I don't know that it's like in the moment that it happened, I was like, "Oh, this is fun." Like I was 8 years old, right?
Right.
And so I was like, "Wow, cool. Maybe other people can do this." But what had happened is my dad was traveling overseas in Thailand. I was in Carleton Place near Ottawa where I grew up, and he called to say hi to all of us. And I remember my mom talking to him on the phone, and I was sitting there and I started to get this like overwhelmed, "Oh my God, I need to speak to my dad" feeling. And so my mom handed me the phone and I said, "Dad, what is that? What are those big teeth sitting beside you on the table?" And he said, "Elephant tusks. How did you know they were there?" Because he wasn't staying in a standard hotel. He was staying with friends that he had never stayed with before. So we literally knew nothing about this place. And I went on to describe the rest of the room he was sitting in. But I guess the part that really freaked him out was, and I said, "Oh, and outside there's a fountain." And he said, "No, there's no fountain." I said, "Dad, I can hear the fountain." And he said, "Well, even if there was a fountain, I'm inside with the door shut. You wouldn't be able to hear it." And I said, "Go check." And he's like, "All right, crazy kid, I'll go look. You're already weirding me out, and I might as well roll with it." So he went outside. He's like, "Well, there's a pool, but there's no fountain." And I said, "Dad, it's near the wall that has the lizard on it." So I guess there was a wall with a lizard on it. And he walked over and there was a rock garden with this little tiny fountain that wasn't even making any noise at all, trickling. And he just said, "Matthew, please put your mother back on the phone." And it wasn't until like years later, he was being interviewed by a newspaper reporter outside of one of my events. And he was like, "Yeah, I basically said, go find the most expensive doctor money can buy because I think something's really, really weird about our kids." So he calls it the day the aliens got me. And
Oh
it
my
freaked him
goodness.
right out. Yeah.
That's hilarious. I mean, I think most of us all have those weirded out moments where the parents are like, "Huh?"
Yeah.
Um, welcome, Mary. Pedro, Alpha Paranormal. Hey, Doris. Hey. Um, so the next question is, how did your family kind of handle your gifts as you kind of progressed along?
Probably with their hand over my mouth. No, I'm just kidding. Um, I so to break it down, so my dad came from like Protestant background, mostly, British descent, farming, like a lot of farmers in the family lineage, and my dad was very educated and very not into this stuff at all, like not even on his radar. My mom, though, was French Canadian and Ukrainian. So those two lineages love this. They leave, the Orthodox church on Sunday and go right to the psychic's house. And so, and then my grandfather was a medium, and my great grandmother was a medium. So there was a lot of mediumship in the family on that side, not professionals. Well, my great grandmother was, but my grandfather wasn't a professional medium. And so, she was like super into all of this stuff. So there was like a little bit of a divide in the sense that she was really interested in it and thought it was super cool. And I think she thought I had some powers that I don't, because there was one time where she's like, "My friend needs a new job. Can you just like," I was like bed knobs and broomsticks it, Mom. I don't think that's how I work. I
No.
don't think, maybe I could see if she's going to get a new job. So yeah, so it was kind of funny. And overall, like, they accepted. After my mom passed away, my dad financed a show for me. So I did like a big public speaking thing, and a lot of people came. And that was the first time he'd ever seen me work ever. And afterwards, he just got so on board with it, and he was like, "No, I can see why people would come to see you, because you're helping a lot of people." And he kind of became like the number one fan. But the
Wow.
funny part of all of that was that sometimes I'll call him and he'll just say, "See, I told you, if we talk about him, he'll call it." So he treats it a little bit like a bit of a parlor trick sometimes, but
Oh my
he's,
goodness.
yeah, generally speaking, very supportive family.
Oh, that's nice. I mean, I grew up in the 70s, so I would get scared and run into my parents' bedroom, and they got tired of it, so they locked their door.
Oh,
And I remember getting my pillow and my blanket and just laying up against the door.
oh,
And it's funny because even though they had experiences, the South, it's okay to talk about it, but to have it in your family, no, no, no,
yeah.
no. So Carrie says, my 12-year-old son also has this ability. So I took him to a psychologist and tried all the meds, which of course didn't work. So I understand how your dad felt.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, I think, like, because so at this point, I've been doing this professionally for 18 years. So at this point in my career path, I've had a lot of parents call me being like, is it the house or is it my kid? I watched Insidious, like, who's haunted? I'm like, breathe, breathe.
Don't watch those things.
Don't read a book, especially not Stephen King. So yeah, so what I've noticed with that is, and I don't even think it's a bad thing. I think when kids start talking about these things, even if they're accurate, there's still like this like energy or fear behind what the parents are hearing, because they're of course wondering, is my kid crazy or are
Right.
they gifted? And it can sometimes, honestly, with people, with anybody, kid or adult, it can be both. Anytime something makes your life unmanageable and makes your routines unmanageable, that's where it becomes an illness. So I've seen people who are profoundly psychic to the point where they couldn't function, and so they had to find some way to shut it down. And for
Mm-hmm.
that was psychology or medication or psychiatry. But what I often tell parents that are experiencing this is just to be patient with it. If the kid gets super distressed to the point where it's looking like an illness, even if it was psychic ability, like, either find someone to help them work through it or find a doctor,
Right.
because it is something that can be kind of closed off a little bit. But it is scary for
It
parents.
is.
Yeah.
And I also heard that people that are on the spectrum are also very there you go.
That would be me. I'm autistic.
I thought that was so interesting because on one of the channels I follow, there's a young man who is in the chat, and he's autistic, and he's like, I get all kinds of weird stuff. I just want to welcome real quick, Sheriff. Hello. And let's see. Uh, Matthew has been spot on with a few Monday night readings he has done for me. That's Diane.
Thanks, Diane. I appreciate that.
And hello, Gail. And Christine says, I have an intuition that is so powerful that I see what will happen before it does. So weird. What does that mean?
I think it means you might be psychic, Christine. give it a minute to see for sure. No, it really, I mean, that's classic. Like, premonitions are classic psychic phenomena. Like, when you think of a psychic, a lot of people, especially, if they don't regularly have exposure to this stuff, they'll see the movies in their head with like the person who touches something and they get this flash of the future. And and really it's not that inaccurate of a portrayal, because most people that have strong psychic abilities or intuitions, they have it intermittently. So, in moments where it's needed, or just sometimes just because, they will have this moment where their vibration raises, they get a vision or some kind of a feeling or a knowing, and then they come right back down again. And that can be very jarring. But yeah, it just means that you're switched on.
Mm-hmm. Alina, hello. She says, how hard is it for loved one to enter TV, movie, and imprint their real voice there?
Alina, congratulations. You've asked me something I don't think I've ever been asked before.
I
I love.
never. That's interesting because I haven't heard it, but is it?
I think I think anything's possible at this point.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, well, if we're looking at how hard something like that would be, we'd have to split it into more than we have to whittle it down to what's happening, right? So immediately that screams physical phenomena, all right? And then so we have to understand, did it happen to everyone's TVs when this show was airing, or was it just in your home? Because then we can break it down to going, oh, was it physical phenomena, or was it something called overshadowing? And overshadowing often happens to mediums where we take on elements of that person, the spirit's experience. And overshadowing can also stem into things like hearing things like that. So it's also called transfiguration. So maybe everybody who wasn't connected to this loved one would have heard the original soundtrack to this TV movie. Maybe the people who are connected had a moment of transfiguration where it sounded like it was their loved one's voice. So if it's true physical phenomena, that's a huge amount of energy. If it's transfiguration, the energy is split between the person experiencing it and the person in spirit providing the message or the visitation. That is substantially less energy.
Now, Carrie says it runs in our family. He also has autism, so it is an interesting life. I have a group psychics that are helping us. And then Margaret says, my nephew is on the spectrum, and he definitely talks to family who have passed, and he's 5.
Well, if you want to know why, what I think of why that's the case for a lot of us on the spectrum, we're very sensitive to everything. I mean, I can hear like a ferry pass gas 2 blocks away. I'm just kidding, but you know what I mean. Like we're very, very sensitive to light and sound a lot of the time, or very undersensitive. But for those of us who are hypersensitive to light and sound, it actually makes sense because mediumship is a subtle thing. It's not usually something that's loud and screaming in someone's face. When they have a vision, 90% of them are going to be very subtle. There's the 10% that are very intense, but most will be subtle. And so it's important to understand that people who are incredibly sensitive, which all psychic and mediums, we're all sensitive, but people on the spectrum are extra sensitive. So maybe they have, or we, I should say, we have a bit of a predisposition to being able to feel that subtlety.
Let's see. Doris says, do you believe in deja vu?
I do. Yeah, absolutely. And years and years ago, somebody had told me it means that you're in the right place at the right time. And I really believe that. I totally feel like it's an alignment moment.
Mm-hmm. And Elena says, is it, I guess does it mean that my husband is so desperate to reach me with something important?
That is a good question. I will tell you this, and this is something the spirit world has told me forever. Nobody will ever miss a message. If spirit wants you to know something, you're going to know it, whether it's coming through your TV or a medium or a dream or a feeling or a situation panning out in a certain way, or synchronicities or your own thoughts. Like if you're meant to get a message, you're going to get it. There's no missing it. So if you are worried that you've missed a message or you didn't interpret something properly, you can let it go. They are really determined up there upstairs, like big time determined. So if that's something where you were like, oh, did I miss the point? You did not miss the point. Likely, if it was something that you couldn't make sense of, it was just him there to let you know that he's with you.
Mm-hmm. And Amy with Full Dark says, I am going to remember that analogy forever. And Margaret says, what does it mean to see the same numbers over and over, such as 444?
That is a great one. Well, 444 immediately I can tell you is the presence of angels. But so when this started happening, I'm going to say like 15 years ago, maybe not even that, maybe even 10 years ago, everybody started seeing number sequences. Like it was like a big deal. And I asked the spirit world about it once because I'm like, okay, like what's up? First it was feathers and like then dimes or sprinkled places. And now people are seeing numbers. What's going on? And they told me something really interesting. They said, well, because it's becoming a part of mass awareness, so people are aware of this idea of numbers. People have written books about it. They've put it online. They've interpreted them like to death, right? And so because of that, the spirit world is using them because they know somebody can go to Google and say 444 angel number or 1111. What does this mean? Or whatever. And they're going to get pages of either numerologists or spiritual people who have done an amazing job interpreting these number sequences. So it's almost like them using tarot cards or oracle cards for everybody. So when people are shown these sequences over and over again, likely at some point they're going to look them up or ask somebody about it. And because the information is so readily available, it's actually just a very easy tool for spirit to use. All they have to do is to give you this inspiration to look a certain direction at a certain time. And in the world of guiding people, that's not a particularly challenging thing to do. So yes, long answer, but there you go.
So Selena says, Matthew, what does it mean when you feel like your vibe is off keel and the numbers 7777 and 888?
Well, I could tell you about sevens, and this is going to be, it would normally be a long story, but I'm going to break it down into like 30 seconds. So 7 is divine presence, right? 8 is repetition. But the way, so when I was off keel, and I mean like off keel, like I mean the stuff they write self-help books about probably. And I was driving down the road, and all of a sudden I looked in front of me, and the license plate was 777, and I was like, oh, that's kind of reassuring. Looked in the rearview mirror, 777 behind me on a license plate. A car drove past me on the right hand side, 777 on the license plate. Car drove behind me on the left, the other side, 77. So it was literally all 4 cars around my car had 777 in their license plate.
Wow.
And that's the only time that's ever happened to me at that level. But the way that I interpreted it at that time was that I'm being watched over. So even though I had to go through this process, even though there was something that was brutally challenging happening within and around me within my own life, that was a sign that, yes, this is hard. You have to go through this. You're learning a lot, but we are with you. And that is the way I would always interpret that going forward, because feeling off keel, Selena, that's a part of the human experience. Like, we are meant to be messy beings. We're not clean. We're not here for sterile, clean living.
Right.
And so the way that I would take that is them letting you know that divine presence is there with you. In 888, if we look at repetition, eventually we're getting somewhere, right? So you are getting through whatever it is that you're going through. And I get it. Like, I medium and minister, but friggin' human, man. I totally understand the feeling uneven sometimes. And so I think this is them saying they're with you. They're watching over you. You're going through this, but you're also going to get through this.
Right. And you have a statement from Erica. I've been intuitive and gifted since the age of 8. Sometimes it's not fun, but being able to help others is my gift.
Very much so.
Selena says, I saw a dragonfly at 3 a.m. where dragonflies shouldn't be.
Oh, that's cool. Well, dragonflies represent seeing through illusions, right? They represent seeing the truth of things, or seeing illusions for what they are. But they're also rebirth as well. So there's an element with that about really getting to the core of things, really seeing everything for what it is in a way that brings you to the next level. Very cool.
And then welcome, Anne. I am seeing 1111 all week. What does that mean?
So 11s are a master number. A lot of people take 1111 as like you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Like you're right where you need to be. So yeah, good question. But I would say, like, for anyone who's interested in learning like more of an interpretation than I can give, because I'm not a numerologist, anytime you get a number sequence, put it into like Google or a search engine, and then put angel numbers, like the word angel numbers, the words angel numbers beside it. And you will get, like, I'm telling you, 20 pages of interpretations. Just when you read them, go with what you feel drawn to, go with what resonates, what like hits you in the heart, even if you don't like it, but it still resonates. That's where you need to be.
Okay. So let's talk about the difference between psychic and medium.
Sure. People are going to hate my answer to this.
I love it.
I almost got kicked out of church one day for this one. Well, spiritualist church.
Yes.
Yeah. So I always braced myself for mediums to get angry at me. Mediumship is a psychic specialty. There, I said it. It was like ripping a Band-Aid off. And the reason why I'm giving it this big lead up is a lot of people believe that mediumship is some top of the line, the best you could get, like bow before me level of ability. And while it's true that it does require a significant raise in vibration to perform, it really is just a psychic specialty. So all people who are mediums are psychic. And then people will say, but not all psychics are mediums. I think that if your intention is to align with spirit and bring through something that helps people, whether you're using tarot cards or your natural ability or whatever, it can still be guided by spirit. Therefore, it's some form of mediumship. But yes, that is a difference. Mediums can communicate with other dimensions. Psychics more are perceptive of energy that is either present or at least earthly, so third dimensional. Mediums connect with fifth dimension and above. But yeah, it really is a psychic specialty. Anyone with psychic ability can learn mediumship. It just takes time
Right.
and practice.
And Selena, Matthew, she wants to know how she can get a reading from you. She can reach you on your website.
Yeah, so my schedule right now is closed because I only book 3 months of appointments at a time. But January 15th at 10 a.m. Eastern time, it is going to be open again for 3 months worth of appointments. But all of that's on my Facebook page. So feel free to follow me on Facebook. It will be announced.
Absolutely. And I'll post everything under the description. So when you do readings, do you use any tools?
No. I mean, I have tools that it's weird. I love tools, but do I use them professionally? No. Very rarely I'll maybe pull a card at the end of a reading, but generally speaking, no tools. No.
Real quick, Gail wants to know, what does it mean if you woke up nightly at 3 a.m. no matter what time you go to sleep?
Ooh, that's a good question. And this is a common thing. This is a very common question actually that I've gotten a lot. Honestly, I want to put it on something cool and spiritual, and it might be, but I think there are so many reasons to wake up. Like, even if we break it down to just pure physiology, right? People have an internal clock. So it could be that, it could be a spirit visitation, it could be any of those things. I would say this is a good example of when we have to go within ourselves to see what we feel about it, is the person experiencing it.
Okay, so can you tell us the difference between tarot cards and oracle cards?
Sure. Yeah, I wish I would have had my tarot cards beside. I have oracle cards beside me, but no tarot. I could have really shown you the difference, but I can explain the difference. So oracle cards, an oracle card deck often has like a theme to it, right? So it could be, I'll just show you. So here's 2 oracle card decks. Grab the other one. This one is light and happy. This is Lantern of the Soul, and these cards are all, empowering messages and things that you can focus on in the moment. This is they're all over the floor. This is Lantern of the Shadow, which is about like delving into the really hard internal stuff, right? And so this is an intense deck. So that's the theme of that. Tarot cards are different. Tarot cards are 78 cards normally in standard decks, and they really tell a story. And tarot cards are split into 2 different sections. So they're called the Arcana. And the minor Arcana is like cups, pentacles, wands, and swords. And that is like day-to-day life stuff. It's a good way to look at that. The major Arcana is the archetypes that sort of show up in situations or in the world itself. And so using a combination of the 2 Arcana in a deck, you can really see what's either happening or has happened or is coming, and maybe even use the major Arcana part to see what's driving it, what's guiding it, what the overarching lessons or influences are of the experience. And so you can do a heck of a lot with tarot. Oracle cards are a little bit more easy. So
Right.
the reading is in the hand who shuffles it, really. But it's more straightforward. Usually the interpretation is written directly on the card. Tarot,
And it kind of doesn't, the oracle cards, it's kind of generalized, so it can, male, female. I mean, it doesn't matter who you read for.
Yeah, and you can get specific with oracle. Like if you didn't have tarot cards that you wanted to get more specific, for example, you could say, I don't know, does Jim Bob down the street love me? So you pull a card and you get, a bit of an answer, and then you say, okay, I need more information. So you think of a second question and you grab another card to try to build a reading with it.
Right.
You can totally do that with oracle cards or tarot cards. But yeah, they're just different. I would say overall, tarot takes years and years to learn. the traditional method of tarot. Oracle cards, you could probably just pull one off the shelf and shuffle it and get a message.
Carrie says, how do you turn off spirits when you don't want them? My son sees and hears them all the time. Ooh.
Good question. So, Carrie, and I know there's probably going to be a delay in you answering this, but does it disturb him, or is it overwhelming for him? The reason I'm asking is if it's not overwhelming, let it go. If it's something that's overwhelming him a lot, the way to do it is he can either ask his spirit guides to shut him off, or he can ground. Depending on his age, though, what I've noticed with young people is they will start off super wide open to the point where it's unsettling for them.
Mhm.
It can take time, but it will calm down. They will chill with it a little bit. And over time, the fear will subside. The important thing is with the fear part is for them to know that none of these things can hurt them and they're not there to hurt them. And I do know also sometimes kids see scary things like, entities that aren't human spirits and stuff like that. That happens to a lot of people who are developing as they're moving through the fourth dimension. So if you imagine, that we are all living in the third dimension, and the fifth dimension is the beginning of spirit, where spirit can really communicate with us intentionally on our, from our side. We have to go through that fourth dimension. Now, the fourth dimension is the astral plane, and it is a crap heap. Like, it is like the garbage landfill of psychic energy. And so a lot of things that show up in the astral realm are very illusionary, and they're also sometimes really scary looking. And a lot of the time when people are developing, whether it be natural or on purpose, they go through a short period sometimes where they're going through that fourth dimensional space. Their vibration is learning to raise beyond it. And in that time period, they can see all kinds of sketchy things.
And she did say it's overwhelming. He hides in his room. He's 12 with autism. He tells them to leave. We use crystals and ground. We also use sage, frankincense, cedar, etc.
All right. So, let's see. I'm actually, can you put the comment back up one more time? I just want to kind of pull it apart. Okay, thank you. All right. So what I'm seeing just from reading it, this isn't a reading, this is just pulling apart your question. So there is an element of fear. When there's fear with something like this, there's vulnerability and a disempowerment. Now, because he is autistic, that fear is innately higher, right? People who are autistic often fear anything that's out of their routine or anything that's overwhelming. So I would say what I would do, I think next time this happens, Carrie, if he's okay with it, if this is something that if he's comfortable with you, for example, if you can if you're like the one who can get him out of his shell more than anybody else, if he's like, let's say, freaked out in the dining room so he goes to his room, I would say take him by the hand, sit in the dining room with him, show him that it's okay. And there's a little bit of a desensitization experience that can happen there. The other thing is for him to know that ultimately he's the one in power. He's the one in the physical world. He's the one who's got a heartbeat and brain function and lungs and all of that. So that is his space. Now, when people are afraid of spirit, a lot of the time they're like, go away, and then their next immediate feeling is, oh my god, I hope that worked, which doesn't. So what needs to happen is he needs to be so affirmative and believe what he's saying. So if he says get out, he knows that they have to, it's not an option. So if you can somehow get him into that zone where he just feels empowered, that will make, yeah, exactly. That will make a big difference. The other option, of course, is asking his spirit guides to do that. Now, depending on what crystals you are using, that could either be helping or making it worse. Frankincense, also great for blessings. Frankincense also raises vibration. And when we raise vibration, it's easier for these things to manifest, right? And so I would be looking at what crystals you're using, and I would also be maybe considering using frankincense here and there. Sage is very purifying. Cedar is very grounding. If you can get Palo Santo, that's incredibly grounding. So these plants, sacred plants, could really, really help. Frankincense, I would say, do it if things get really bad and you just want to purify the space. But I would say, yeah, that's what I would say.
Um, Carrie says, I've done this. They pop up and it scares him. We have shot Nerf bullets at them and yelled at them. LOL, use black tourmaline.
Yeah, and black tourmaline's a great stone for that. The other one you could get for him, Carrie, is one called rhodonite. And rhodonite is beautiful. A lot of people will say, it's used for love or self-love. It's also a great psychic signal jammer. Rhodonite mixed with howlite, so one stone of each and a black tourmaline. That could really, really help. But my feeling on it is just trying to help him to not be afraid of it, as hard as that is. And I know personally how hard that is. If there's anything that I can do to help, you let me know for sure.
Erica does say, I've had a lot of losses in my family. Everyone passed away around 3 a.m. and 3:30. Why is this?
That's a good question. And honestly, I'm not even sure how to answer that. I have a day in my family where most people die on that day. So the same thing, honestly, I wish I could answer. This is one of those questions that I honestly have no idea, because the same thing happens to me. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is a journey, especially when your child is scared. Because I remember my son at 3 years old kept saying, screaming at the top of his lungs, "Mama!" So I come running, and he won't leave his room, and he's pointing down because you can look down into our living room. He says, "There's a witch." So, baby, that's not a witch. It's a witch, Mama. Baby, I'm telling you, it's not a witch. How do you know? I said, baby, that is Mama's great aunt. That is your great great aunt, and she's here to protect you and look over you.
Oh, that's
Are you sure? But she was 90 when she passed away, so his 3-year-old mind thought it was a witch.
Oh,
And
that's amazing.
They do. I mean, I remember at 3 seeing something and being terrified, and then it kind of dipped and went away for a while, and then my teenage years, boom, it smacked me. It never went away.
That can happen, that can happen.
Okay, so because you were bringing up spirit guides, let's talk about spirit guides and what role they play.
Sure. Yeah, sure. So spirit guides are not often our loved ones. Our loved ones can guide us from spirit, don't get me wrong, but spirit guides are beings that we've made an agreement with before we come here that they will watch over us, they'll guide our path. We all have at least 2 of them, but usually more. And some of them are, like, as I say, from cradle to coffin, right? Full lifelong guides. Other ones may come in for specific life lessons and purposes. And yeah, I think one question that a lot of people ask me is, well, I got in a car accident, or I, got a divorce. Like, how did I, why didn't my guide stop me from making these mistakes? And I always tell them that our guide's job isn't to stop bad things from happening to us. It's to help us make the most of things that happen, good and bad, both. And so they help to facilitate the learning of our lessons and the unfolding of our experiences.
Selena says, how do you find out who your spirit guide is?
So this is also a tricky question, because it's tricky because I'm an evidential medium, right? So for me, it's like, if someone's coming through, I want to find out who they were. It needs to resonate with the person. They need to be able to say, that was my great whatever, or my friend or my dog, or what have you. With spirit guides, it's hard to get evidential information because, like, there's not really a way necessarily to track them down or whatever, because they could be, from 2000 years ago. They could be somebody who was carried in the womb and never, physically made it on Earth. They could be all kinds of things. And so, so it's hard to know who they are. And that's just coming from me as an evidential medium. I guarantee you that you could find a psychic or a medium to say, your guide is this person, this was their name, this was their occupation, they lived in France and they died in 1812 in a boat accident or whatever. And they could be completely right. Don't get me wrong. I am not saying it's not accurate information, but there's no real way to validate it other than whether or not it resonates. What I would always recommend people to get invested in would be to find out what their messages for you, or what they're helping you to learn right now, or what they came in to help you with. Because I think that information can be a lot more useful. Now, you can always give your spirit guide a name. They won't care. You won't get it wrong. If you go with one that resonates with your heart, then it's the right name. So you can almost give them a bit of an identity in a sense. And the reason it will feel right in your heart is it will be in alignment with their vibration. So if you feel like their name is, I don't know, Betty, like then, and that feels right in your heart, then you know that that name vibration is in alignment with their spirit vibration. And that's something that you can totally do.
Can your spirit change?
I'm not sure.
I'm not either.
Yeah. Maybe Annette could elaborate on the question a little bit.
Margaret says, how do you communicate with your spirit guides?
Well, I mean, the easy way I would answer for me is you already are. But because they have to communicate with you to guide you. Now, the real question though is how can I consciously communicate with my spirit guides? And that is a little bit of a different thing. So you could decide to use tools. For example, you could use like cards or crystals or scrying or whatever you like. If you are drawn to tools. If you're not drawn to tools, you could do it through meditation or just kind of taking some time and setting up a bit of a space within yourself or within your home and sitting down and saying, okay, now it's time for messages, and just going with whatever you feel in the moment, whatever you're inspired with. So there's like a lot of ways to do it. And it really just is a matter of what you're drawn to or what you feel connected to.
I want to say welcome, Stephen. Selena says, I think I've driven my spirit guides crazy and they left me.
That will never happen, but I tell you, when I think my spirit guides are probably chain smoking right now after their shift for the day is done. No, I don't think that they can ever get angry at us. Spirit is never angry. Like, they're so patient and loving and understanding. We could seriously make the same mistake 4,000 times in a row, and they will be like just as calm and collected and helpful and loving and understanding and patient as the first time I made that mistake. So never ever feel abandoned.
Frank is my naughty boy, and Frank did say, can I go on Google and pick my spirit guides?
Sure, why not?
Now, I know for me, I asked my grandfather and I asked my grandmother. My grandmother passed away before I was born. My grandfather was in my life for a short period of time. And from what I understand, he absolutely adored me. Oh. And so I did ask them if they would be willing to be my spirit guides. And I mean, they haven't let me down yet.
Yeah. And I think this is a good example of how our loved ones absolutely can guide us. Like, even if they can't be assigned as like our main in charge of our soul mission lessons, they can still guide us. Like, our day-to-day life can be guided by them. I think that's a beautiful thing about our loved ones.
Then let's see. Can your spirit guide change? I have one who was drowned, and I feel her. I'm going to probably say not close now, but I do my dad.
I totally think that that's possible, because they may have come in for like a specific purpose or a specific element of things that you're learning. So absolutely they can change for sure.
Okay, so the one thing I wanted to talk about with you, because I think people kind of think mediums and psychics get everything right. And that's furthest, because I say free will, and you can't tell somebody, even if they're in front of you or in spirit, don't lie to me.
No, it's true. And we don't get everything right. Oh my God. Or a lot of the time they'll think we know everything. One time somebody was an hour late to see me, and they were like, well, didn't you know? And I was like, no, I didn't.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, no, that's totally it's the weirdest not stigma, but like misunderstood fact about people
Right.
like us.
And I think, unfortunately, we're judged so hard. You can get 95% right and you get that 5% wrong, and they're never going to let you down on that.
Oh, for sure. And you know what? The way that I look at it now is like I'm just like, well, all I can do is my best, and I go into it with the right intention, the right feeling is as aligned as I possibly can, the most loving and compassionate I can possibly be. And if that's not good enough, then there's literally nothing more I can do. If we do our best with something, whether it's a
Mhm.
reading or baking bread or like work or whatever it is, like if you do your best with something, if that's not good enough, that's not your problem. And
Right.
and it may sound harsh, but that's kind of where I'm at with it is like all I can show up with is myself, my gift, and the willingness and the intention to align with for messages for somebody, but that's it.
Carla says, I get a whiff of cigarette or cigar smoke often. Is this common?
It is common, especially if you have a loved one, Carla, that smoked cigarettes or cigars. That would definitely be extra common. But yes, scent is something that a lot of people experience, and I really do believe that's our loved ones or somebody letting us know that they're there. Great.
Um, C. Ange says, I smell my dad's cologne often.
That's super cool. And again, that's I think a great example of a visitation. I think that's actually beautiful. And
Hmm.
and do you know, I think the reason why we smell things a lot like that is our scent, our olfactory senses, the ability to smell is the strongest memory linking thing that we have as humans.
Hmm.
So I'm not surprised because at the end of the day, spirit has to use our faculties, our thoughts, our memories, even as mediums. They have to use things that we on some level have seen somewhere at one point in our lives before. They have to use and manipulate those memories, those experiences, those thoughts, beliefs, feelings, whatever, in order to produce a message. And so I'm not surprised that that's the way people's loved ones let them know that they're present.
Let's see. Let's get into the paranormal. So, how important do you think mediums and psychics are in the paranormal world?
I think it completely depends on both like the system of investigation, I guess, because there are a lot of paranormal teams that want absolutely nothing to do with sensitives. And sensitives is sort of the name, the heading for people with mediumship and psychic ability. In the paranormal investigation world, they're called sensitives. Some teams are like, nope, we don't want anything to do with that. We're going for empirical, you know, very tangible evidence only, which I think is awesome. And
Mhm.
other ones are like, oh yeah, let's get some psychics and mediums to tell us where to point our cameras, and that's cool too. So is it vital? No. Could it make it easier? Yes. Could it also potentially negatively interfere with an investigation? Possibly. And the reason why is a lot of psychics and mediums, things manifest easily around us. So something may be much more haunted while they're there than it would normally be. And so actually it could skew the accuracy of the investigation. So I would be looking at, is the goal to empirically and in some sort of very tangible way prove in the existence of a haunting or life after death? Or is it to have an experience of something to try to understand what other people have already experienced there? And I think that you have to kind of ask what the end game of the investigation
Mhm.
is before you can decide whether or not using a sensitive would be helpful.
It's interesting because there was one guy that I followed, and he always has two sensitives, medium psychics, on his team. And he says the reason I do this, he's like, we go to big, huge buildings, and I don't want to waste my time in a room talking to an empty chair.
Yeah.
And he's like, I find them very important in that aspect that they can point me in that direction, and we can go. So I thought that was interesting. I've
Yeah.
heard a lot of people talk about how, unfortunately, there's some that maybe oversell themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and then a team takes them on and they kind of get
Yeah, I've seen that happen before as well. And it is hard, because like a lot of people feel things. A lot of people are sensitive and they can pick up on things. But I think there's a difference between being able to consistently do it on purpose and it
Mhm.
just happening. Those are two, they're connected, but they're different things, right?
Yes.
And so I think I could see where that could happen for sure.
Right. Okay. So let's see. Very interesting conversation.
Oh,
Thank you,
thanks.
Donna. Melissa, maybe at the end we might possibly do a reading of some sort. Brenda as well. Brenda asked any messages for me, so I
Mm.
kind of figured we might, if you are up to it, we might.
I will try to do a few for sure. Why not?
So how can paranormal teams, and this is the one thing I've been really I've been racking my brain. How do paranormal teams go about finding a reputable medium, psychic, sensitive?
Sure. I think that's a great question. I think approaching ones that are already professionally practicing, I think you need to find people who are genuinely interested in paranormal investigation. A lot of us have done it. Like I was a consulting medium for several teams here in Canada over the years. They would call me when they would get really messed up stuff,
Oh no.
like the really messed up stuff. Um, but yeah, it really depends. I think that there are a lot of psychics and mediums who would be very interested in doing things that are more on the scientific side because it's cool and not done very often. Other ones may be interested in going into haunted places. It's a challenging thing. I would say one option would be to find people who have um, done some kind of significant training or have solid experience doing readings that are interested. It really is a challenging thing. I think it would really depend on the area that investigators are in. And in Ottawa here there's a lot of really good psychics and mediums, and I'm sure a lot would be interested in that. So it really just depends on the location as well. I would say advertise and be specific.
Right.
Yeah.
Annette says, do you think it's healthy for paranormal activity all the time?
um I think that it kind of depends on the definition of paranormal activity. So if we're talking purely about things happening like knocking on the walls or lights flickering or whatever, I don't think that's unhealthy. Do I think it's unhealthy for somebody to be constantly doing readings day in and day out all day long? Yes, I've done it. It's not healthy. Um, so I think it really depends on the definition of paranormal activity.
Um, Cynthia, welcome. What is the difference between paranormal and psychic?
So paranormal just is like an umbrella term that looks at things like psychic ability and hauntings and ghosts and even further out things like aliens and Sasquatches. Really, paranormal is just the study of things that are, I can't even say abnormal because it isn't abnormal, but off the beaten path. I think it's honestly, sometimes I think it's a misnomer. I think a lot of people, if not most people, have some kind of spiritual, psychic, intuitive, some experiences in their lives. I don't think it's actually that unusual, but paranormal could be the study of those things. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think transpersonal might be a better name for it.
Right. What are your opinions with people who provoke spirits during an investigation?
We're not going to talk about them.
Mm-hmm.
I think that it's for a few things. One, pointless. Two, honestly, I think it's disrespectful. I personally have never done it and
Yes.
I never would. Either you're gonna get a connection or you're not. Provoking it, I think honestly, is probably going to not even bring in the right kind of thing. You'll probably get lots of weird astral fourth dimensional entities from doing that. And if you're wanting to be sensational and get something cool on a tape, it will probably work. Do I think that it's dangerous and crappy? Yeah, I do.
Yes. Very much. I get very upset because there's no reason if you're getting responses, there's no reason to provoke.
Yeah,
I don't see the purpose of it. And like you
same.
said, you don't know what you're dealing with, and it could be something very nasty.
Yeah, or even like the other side of that too is like the more active somebody is in an experience like that, the more likely they are to make something up by accident as well, right? And so there's an element of you're drinking the Kool-Aid a little bit at that, and not to say that hauntings aren't real or things don't really happen in those places. If you the more involved you get to it rather than just observing it, the more likely you are to not have an objective judgment. So there's also that scientific side of it as well. The more immersed you are, the less
Hmm.
objective you can be. Yeah.
Carrie actually asked a very interesting question. Have you ever been afraid from who you connected to during a reading?
I haven't been afraid, but I've definitely felt some intense energy for sure. Yeah, it can be scary. It can be scary. Not because they're scary beings or anything, just because it's intense. And that's yeah, unsettling maybe is the right word. But not scared, no.
Let's see. Annie says, but it would be important to point out that hauntings really are non existent. There is not one spirit who gets stuck in between two worlds or cannot go to the light or
Mhm.
could hurt you.
I agree with you, Annie. I don't believe that anybody is ever stuck. I think the second we pass away, we are in a good place. That said, this is going to be a lot to explain in a short amount of time, but I'm going to do my best. So, when somebody has, even if they're alive and it's not the end of their life, if they have a traumatic experience, that can cause energetic fragmentation. So, a little piece of them breaks off, or not breaks off, but becomes suspended in that moment. When somebody has a traumatic passing, fragmentation can also happen. So, is it the person's spirit creating the haunting? No, it isn't. And you're right about that. But what it could be is that leftover energy, the residual
The
energy of
residual.
of
Mhm.
their experience, kept alive by the place that they had the experience in. And so, yes, you are very right, and I'm completely in alignment with the that with your beliefs on that. But a
Mhm.
paranormal haunting can happen. There's also the other side of it not being human spirits. And so there are other types of beings that can create hauntings. The most haunted house I'd ever been in my entire life as an investigator was not haunted by a person. It was haunted by something, and it was terrifying. Even
Oh,
I was terrified.
oh.
Yeah.
Amy with Full Dark Paranormal. I love them. She says you can tell a lot about how a person treats others by how they treat ghost cryptids, the other. A friend of ours said that recently.
Yeah, I think she's right. I would agree
Yeah.
with you. Yeah, because I think I think with that question about provoking something, I mean, I think yeah, I think she's totally right because it's a crappy thing to do. It tells you a lot about somebody. And I think she's
Hmm.
right about that. I love that.
Um, what's the best way to tune into our intuition? I've had many things happen over the years that I either felt or knew.
It really depends on the person. We all perceive things differently. The biggest thing that I can give you advice-wise is to go with your gut feeling. The first thought you have about something. The second thought that comes in is our judgment of our first thought. And so that would be my intuition. Just practice or my not my that would be my intuition. I'm tired. That would be my advice. And just practicing that over and over again. I believe the learning is in the doing, which, if you want to practice learning to read or you want to practice developing mediumship or psychic ability or strengthening your intuition, it's all hands on. Nobody can teach you the theory of it. Even when I teach my courses, in an entire 2-hour class, 15 minutes of that is going to be theory at the most. The rest of it is all practice.
Brenda says, I do have a question. I get a deep feeling about stuff or intuitions, as some would say. My children think I have psychic powers, but I've never seen or spoke to spirit. How can I become more in tune with that side of myself?
I love this question. And I humbly say you have been in connection with spirit. And I'm saying that on two levels. One, I felt it immediately when I read your question at a psychic level. I think you're very tuned in to spirit. I want to talk for a second about the difference between an integrated ability and an ability that is not as integrated. Both are powerful, both are good. I'm an example of somebody whose ability isn't necessarily integrated because I'm aware of it when it's happening. Somebody with an integrated ability, they're in communication with their guides or loved ones a lot, but they don't know that they are because it's so a part of their day-to-day experience. So people who do mediumship on purpose, we may not have as much of an integrated ability. Somebody who's getting information and strong intuition and all of that without even trying and not really putting it on anything, that's an integrated ability. I believe that you are talking to spirit.
Terry says, I have a question for you both. Do you find it hard to do readings for relatives and friends? Can it be done without your personal connection and bias getting in the way?
I do not read for family or friends for that reason alone.
I don't do any readings, but I don't do it because um I was out with a friend kind of taking pictures, paranormal kind of, just playing around a little bit. And I looked at her and I said, your grandmother's with you all the time. And she just was shocked, and the shock and fear. And she's like, what are you talking about? How did you know? And I was like, because I pick up on her. After that, I was like, nope, never going to do that again. So it scared me off very quickly.
Yeah, no doubt.
And that was when I was in my early 20s somewhere. So yeah, no, I was like, after seeing that scared look, I was like, ooh, okay.
That would be a little unsettling.
Yeah. Full Dark Amy says, how might Matthew describe a feeling outside of oneself that comes over you, like having your mood switch for you? Physically, what is happening there?
Overshadowing. So, so that happens in people oftentimes who are either empathic or clairsentient. So clairsentient is the clear feeling ability, which can also affect mood and things like that. So if you imagine like person A, which let's say is you, and you're vibrating in a certain, vibration, and you go into a space of a different vibration, and all of a sudden your energy starts beginning to vibrate more closely to the energy of that space, that is the effect that it will happen, or that's the effect that will happen with that. So it's all about resonance. Some people are master resonators, like empathic people. They're a great example of that. Somebody 2 blocks away could have a panic attack and they're going to feel it because they are so able to instantly shift their vibration, often without their consent. And it's just because they're picking things up, they're just feeling things. So yeah, I would say that that's likely what's going on. It's somebody who's very sensitive. It can also happen to people who aren't always very sensitive, but they have moments of being ungrounded, so their vibration raises higher than their normal functioning level, and so in that moment they can be influenced by the energy of the space around them. Now, that's one example. The other is if we were to look at mass consciousness. So, mass consciousness, we all have an individual consciousness. Then that individual consciousness connects to the mass consciousness, right? The overarching consciousness, the cumulative consciousness. When things get weird in the cumulative consciousness, sensitive people can pick up on that. I don't know if anyone's looked outside in the last 2 years and went, oh, like it just felt like this dark heaviness reached their heart. That's an example of feeling that mass consciousness energy. So it happens at a lot, but the underlying principle of it is vibration and resonance.
So she says, it only happened to me once, but it was dramatically noticeable and just before visually witnessing something.
Okay, so this is an example then of your vibration raised. So obviously you were meant to visually have that experience. And so what happened probably is your guides were like, all right, we're just going to turn this person up a little bit so they can reach the fourth, fifth dimensional space in their awareness. They're going to have their experience and come back down. As your vibration changes or shifts, you are going to feel different. Some people feel it as anxiety. Some people feel it as a heaviness and then a lightness. So it really just depends on the person. But the other side of that too is when your vibration raises, the first things that are going to happen is you're going to become aware of the density of the world around you. We live in the third dimension is very dense, right? And so your first thought may be, oh my God, this is so heavy. And then boom, this is so light. And then when you come back down, oh my God, this is so heavy again, because you're realigning to density. So it really, it just depends on the person. But that would be my thought of it for sure.
Donna says, I visited a friend in a different city that I've never been to, but once I was in the house, I felt like I had been there before, but I've never been there. Can you help me understand, please?
Sorry, I'm going to reread it. I was reading Full Dark Paranormal's comments.
That's okay.
I visited a friend in a different city that I had never been to, but once I was in the house, I felt like I had been there before, but I have never been there. Can you help me understand this? This is another example of resonance. So on some level, something in that space resonated or hit with your heart energy. And it could be the fact that your friend was there. It could be the land. Maybe there was a past life connection. It could be a million different things. But when that happens,
it could be deja vu too.
It could be. Yeah, that feeling is like, well, maybe it could be deja vu, but deja vu is usually very transient and very fast, something that comes and goes really quickly. This sounds more like when we find our heart place. You know, when we go to a city we've never been to and it feels like home, or we go to somebody's house and we're like, oh my God, I could live here forever. Like, I just don't want to leave. That means that the space that you're in is matched vibrationally to who you are. And that's something that I think is really cool. And a lot of people experience that when they are really drawn to go to, like I don't know, one of the wonders of the world or a certain country, and they don't know why they want to go there, but they research it and everything becomes about that. And then they go there, and when they touch their feet on the ground, they have an alignment moment. Everything in their entire life begins to come into alignment. And so that can also happen, and that can also create that feeling of familiarity.
So let's see. It moved up on me. I got to go back down. I've been told by different psychics that I have psychic ability, and I have always been so intrigued by it, but I do not see or feel anything.
I love this question, and I think everybody has psychic ability. I don't think there's any person on this planet that's not connected. So it really is just a matter of deciding to become conscious of it. And like, either you could practice it on your own, you could take a class, you could do it through meditation, you could do it through learning to do readings or whatever. But I believe anybody can bridge that connection consciously for sure.
Diane says, I pick up on everyone's mood. It sucks. I'm a cashier, and a day is a roller coaster of emotion.
That sounds uncomfortable. So what you can do when you feel this overwhelmedness, that's probably not a word. It is today.
There it is.
There it is. Put it in the dictionary. All right. So yeah, when you feel that, with empathic people, we can smoke. I'm gonna do that.
Yes.
Not because the question is stressful, I promise. But when people are empathic, they will often have they'll often experience other people's energy or emotions, and it will feel like their own. So when you feel overwhelmed like that, the first thing I want you to do is say to yourself, within yourself, is this mine? Like, is this feeling, this experience, whatever, is this mine? When it comes back, is your first reaction is no, most empathic people will switch into what's called an observer state. And so they'll continue to be aware of it, but it won't feel personal. It won't feel like it's their experience. It'll be like they're watching it on TV rather than being in the TV. And so that would be my recommendation, and learning how to really just ground yourself and ground a million times a day if you have to, but let that energy go.
Amy with Full Dark Paranormal says, oh my God, this resonates. I love it. It makes sense so well. It was the most stunning thing to happen to me in the paranormal almost exactly a decade ago.
That's really cool. Now I want to know what happened.
Right.
Maybe we
I
don't know everything.
I think
We
I
don't know everything.
think I think I may know, but I'm not going to say because let's see. Why is it sometimes I can look at someone and know their name or middle name, or wake up from a dream and know exactly what
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 these loved ones want me to know.
yeah.
Is this common? It's not uncommon. So I wouldn't say that it's super common, but it's not uncommon. And I think it's just an example of somebody who's just aligned and open and receiving. And receiving. It would be kind of like I don't know, like some people can always smell a fire before everybody else can. It's kind of that same thing, only it's the psychic side of that. Yeah. You're open and sensitive.
Mhm. Cynthia says, "What do you think about people thinking they were out of their body and in another house and can describe the whole thing in conversation? It freaked my family out when it happened to me. I told them private stuff and I felt like I was really there. I live in a different city." Oh,
That's awesome. So, it depends on so there's a few things. One, immediately that sounds like astral travel or
mhm.
astral projection, which are slightly different. Um, or remote viewing. So the way that I'd be looking at that is what state were you in when it happened? Were you asleep? Were you tranced out? Were you just sitting on the couch and you closed your eyes and saw it? It really, yeah, to answer it properly, we'd have to really know what you were doing at the time that it happened. If you were sleeping, it's likely astral travel. If you were sitting at the couch watching TV and all of a sudden it came in your mind, that's a premonition. If you were kind of meditating and saw it, that's likely astral projection. So it really just depends on what you were doing when it happened.
She said awake.
All right, awake sitting, and then she said sitting on my sofa. That sounds to
Uh,
me like either a premonition or astral projection. It's if it's astral projection, it would fall under what's called remote viewing, which is the ability to see things happening in a different location in real time. If it happened, let's say you had the vision at 9, but everything actually unfolded at 10 or at 8 or basically at a different time. If it wasn't in real time, that could be a premonition or a vision just of something that's going to happen or something that just has.
this is a good one. Selena says, "I recently met someone and we both felt the earth move when we met. Is there a way to shake that vibe off since I don't want contact with that person?"
So, beautiful question. So, this is again an example of resonance. Sometimes, so we all have soulmates, right? And soulmates can be lovers. They can also be our enemies. They can start off as one and become the other in either direction, or they can just be friends or people. Even though we only may know them for like a minute, they still create profound change and they alter the course of our experience in some way. That's what a soulmate is. When people meet their soulmates, they often will get that vibe, like it will be like the earth has shaken, or they'll feel like an instant connection where when they're getting to know each other, it feels more like catching up than actually getting to know each other. And there's that familiarity, good or bad. And so these are examples of soulmates, and that's what that experience sounds like to me. Even though it sounds like it was kind of a crappy one, it was still something that shifted your path in a certain direction that it was meant to shift. And because there's still a strong reaction on your side, which is normal and acceptable, and you need to feel all of that and work through that, it means that you're still in process from that experience because it hasn't come to conclusion or closure yet.
Um, Amy says that I do know. I've considered how much of what we experienced is us and how it comes down to how our brain cells something of us works with what's around us in these places.
All right, so I just want to make sure that I have the question right because I feel like this is a super cool question. I'm just gonna read how consider how much of what we experience is us and how much comes down to our brain cells. Something of us works with what's around us. Yeah, so I agree with you completely. I think 90% of experiences, paranormal experiences, hauntings, all of that the person experiencing the activity is just as much of a part to play as the energy that's there. And it can be for many different reasons. Sometimes it can be because, for example, with mediums, a lot of us, our energy field just lets things manifest easily for whatever reason. I get lots of lights flickering, knockings on walls, and things moving by themselves, not in front of me all the time, but I'll hear things crash in another room frequently. So my energy allows things to manifest easily. So a lot of the time when I've investigated hauntings or just experiences, the person experiencing it had a huge part to play in it energetically, and not on purpose, and not in a way where they were making it happen in a conscious way, but where their interaction, the energetic interaction between them and the space, allowed the experience to happen easily.
Now, Cynthia says, they had conversation. I knew all of it. I could see myself standing behind them, but I was really in my living room. It scared them.
Okay, that is astral projection. Yeah. Cynthia, did you go into like a deep trance? So were you completely unaware of your living room, or were you kind of still aware of you and where you were sitting, but very much seeing and hearing all of these things? If you were no longer aware of yourself or your space on any level, like it just wasn't there, you were completely not in your living room anymore, that's more likely astral travel. If you were still if you still retained some awareness of your body or some awareness of your couch or whatever you were sitting on, that's more likely astral projection.
My poor Frank. Will my third eye open when I meet my soulmate?
It could, if their purpose is to help you to activate psychically and creatively, then it absolutely could, for sure.
And Cynthia says, I felt like I was really with them.
Okay, sounds like astral travel to me, and you'll know, especially if when you came out of that state, Cynthia, if you felt like you had no energy and you were just like done, like stick a fork in you, you're done, then that is more likely to be astral travel as well, because it's much more energetically intense to travel than to project.
Margaret says, I get most of my information in dream state, like in your face messages, and I followed a dream and am certified hypnotherapist specializing in past life regression.
I think that's really cool.
Yes.
Yeah, I think that's super cool.
Lena says, do you believe in manifestation? Well, I got it out.
I love Leona. She's awesome.
Oh, Leona, sorry.
Yeah, no, she's awesome. Yes, so it depends. I mean, yes, across the board. But to be clear, like manifestation is in a person making something happen. I do believe in it. Manifestation is in something manifesting, taking physical form in front of somebody. Yes. So yes, I guess the answer is yes. He always asks great questions.
So, what are your feelings on people who claim they move spirits on?
I just want to be nice. No, it's I believe that they're clearing residual energy. That's what I believe. I believe that we are so physical. Even the greatest of mediums is still very much mostly physical, earthly, right? I think that, first of all, if it was required, which I don't believe it is, I don't think it would be humans doing it. I think it would be the other side doing it. Because that person is when they pass, they're completely non-physical. So there's almost no point in somebody physical trying to usher them into the light. That said, if it's fragmentation and residual energy, that I believe we do clean up. And I think when somebody sends somebody to the light, that's really what's happening. They're just helping to clear that up. And I didn't always believe that. I used to really strongly believe in rescue mediumship, so much so that I had written a book about it and it was out in the world and published. And it took me a lot to get that not to be out there anymore. And the realization came when I met an amazing medium, and I said, "What do you think about this?" She said, "I don't believe in it." And she told me her experience, and I thought, "Well, that's crap. I believe in it." And then I went on and continued being a paranormal investigator and cleared houses and all of that. And one time I was walking what I thought was a spirit into the light, and all of a sudden I saw the spirit standing in the light and this other version of them that was suffering and scared walking towards them. And I thought, oh my God, it's never about a spirit being stuck. It's about the fragmented energy needing to be transmuted. And so I kept observing that every time I would clear a space or a house, I would see that spirit of that person, the real spirit, step in to help that process, to help clear up that energy. And so that's my belief on it. I think we clear residual energy. I think the spirit is always in a good place.
Yeah, I mean, you have so many people out there that are, well, I've moved all these spirits on, and I'm going, wait, one. How do you know you moved them on to a good place? And is it really our job to move them on?
No.
Because there's a reason for everything, and I believe if we have free will, then we have free will
Yeah.
in spirit. And somebody told a very interesting story. It was a group that was running a haunted location.
Mm.
Somebody came in and moved on one of their spirits. And they moved this spirit on to a not good area.
Mm.
And it took several people they brought in to bring her back. And she was never the same after that. They said she was very jovial, childlike, and they say she's now very withdrawn and frightened. And I was like, whew.
That sounds like a lot happening. I mean, so they could have partially shifted a fragment.
Mhm.
So if you look at that, the heaviest vibration would be the most challenging part of it, right? So like that sad, withdrawn, whatever would be the heaviest vibration. It would make sense that the lightest vibration within that fragment would transmute more easily because it's closer to a higher vibrational space to begin with. So it sounds like they basically cleaned up half the fragment and left the other half not there, not cleaned up yet. My advice would be to transmute the rest of it.
Mhm. Have you ever had experience with pets that have passed on?
Yes, and I love them. They're some of my favorite things ever.
Mhm.
Monday, if you ever get a chance to watch, on Monday nights, I do free live readings on my page. And pets come through all the time, and they're some of my favorite spirits to bring through. I love them. I love them.
Mhm.
I had a
I
horse once, even a cow. A
really.
cow came through on Monday.
Oh
I
wow.
don't know if it was Monday or on Christmas Day, but one in the last week or so, a cow came through in one of my live readings.
Um, I was very close to my Doberman, and I wanted him. I wanted to take him with me when I moved to Holland,
Mm.
but he was 9. He was 150 pounds, so he was a big boy, and I just was terrified that a long flight could kill him. And every once in a while, I can feel him around me.
Wow.
I mean, I just love it. Um, Frank says, "What do you think of people who enter locations and within seconds know names of ghosties?" Ghosties.
I would say that it could totally be a thing. It could be accurate. My advice would be to research afterwards and see if it lines up.
Carrie says, "Do you believe in archangels?"
I do. I do. Absolutely.
Um, Oracles and Pion, Cassie, hello. Um, Terry says, "A question about past lives. How can you explain the reason why more than one person will say they are someone famous in history? Like, how many people can be the famous Cleopatra? Can they possibly have been a part of that person's life and mistakenly decided they were that famous person?
This is
Hold it.
that's such a good question. I love it.
Yes.
It is, and it's a hard one. So I'm going to turn that over to Spirit, and I'm going to ask them, "Hey, how come we have so many Cleopatras and so many other famous people?" And see what they say. Oh, I like this answer. Okay, so it's archetypal resonance. That's what I got. So if you look at these famous people in history, they now are archetypes for certain things. For example, if you if you talk to somebody and they say, "Oh, stop being such a whatever," and they name a famous person, "Stop being such a Winston Churchill, stop being such a Queen Elizabeth I," or whatever. Like, I mean, those are probably not good examples, but things like that. Or like, who do you think you are, the queen of whatever? Those people have become archetypes. They become understandings of a certain type of person or a certain type of experience. And so when somebody feels like they were that famous person, the spirit world right now is telling me that it is because they are resonating at a soul level with that archetype, either as who they are now or who they could have, who they were in a past life. Whether or not they were that famous person, it doesn't matter. They're resonating with the traits of that person, of what that person stood for, and maybe even the change that that person provoked on Earth, because nobody is famous for nothing.
Right. When you were in the paranormal, did you do anything for protection?
Yeah, always. And a lot of it was really about just being present and afterwards clearing stuff out. But of course asking spirit to be there and protecting. Absolutely.
Now, have you dealt with anything negative?
Oh yeah. Oh, for sure. Yeah, like a lot. A lot of times. And sometimes it was astral entities, sometimes it was otherworldly beings that weren't human spirits, sometimes it was trauma left over from person. Even sometimes they've still been alive and the trauma was still there and acting like a haunting. Yeah, definitely I've seen my fair share of things that chilled me to the bone, for sure.
Hmm. What are your thoughts on how easily people throw around the demon word?
I think true demon presences are actually rare. I think there are all kinds of little astrals
Hmm.
that
Elementals.
that can provoke fear. For sure. I think I've experienced the presence of both, and I can tell you the same with like a benevolent spirit and an
Hmm.
angelic spirit.
Hmm.
They can be similar, but the voltage on them is quite different. And so yeah, I think it's thrown around loosely. I also think sometimes archangels especially, can be thrown around loosely sometimes as well. uh
Now,
yeah.
I had a very interesting thing because I was getting so annoyed with demon, 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 demon. I was like, that's so rare. I mean, it's really rare.
Mhm.
And um, I'm so sorry. Please
Oh,
excuse
don't
me.
be
I'm just
sorry at all. I feel like
um
we're in a joint living room at the moment, and we're just
right.
chilling out with all of these amazing people and their awesome questions.
Um, I researched because I was so annoyed with hearing demons so much.
Hmm.
And I actually found a clip, a video clip, and it's on it. It's way, way back in my videos that I did because I wanted people to think. I wanted to give them something else. So there was a car accident, and the car was on the roof in the river.
Hmm.
The lady driving the car died on impact, but she had a baby in her back seat in the car seat. And just a little bit of water was running over her head. And you had a police officer and you had two fire and rescue run down, and you know you hear on the radios, all three radios, a very metallic voice, help us.
Hmm.
Now I have found an interview with those three, um, two rescuers and the police, and they all say that was an angel.
It very well could be. I mean, I think angels definitely do things like that for sure. I believe. I've had experiences with angels myself. One of them was so profound that I had no words for it, and it was such an intense feeling. Like, I mean, it was like, in National Lampoon's Christmas Vacation, when the lights finally come on, that's what it freaking felt like to me. And I think those were like big angels. I've had experiences with maybe more like guardian angels and things like that as well, where it was a lot more subtle of experience. But I think when it comes to angels in the spirit world in general, they'll meet us at the vibration that we need and that we can handle as well.
Pamela says past loved ones always say they are in good place. Have you had any say they were not in a good place? And what do spirits do all day?
I like this question. I have not had them say they're in a bad place. No, I don't believe, and I don't believe they ever are, by the way. Um, what do spirits do all day? I don't know. I don't know. I'm a medium, have no idea. Couldn't tell you. Honestly, I don't think that we have the reference points to understand the spirit world fully. I really don't. I think that we can guess, but I don't think we can actually know.
And poor Genesis is getting goosebumps. And I've been getting goosebumps throughout our conversations. So it's quite interesting. You're not the only one. So I have one last question.
Sure.
Why do you think spirits either refuse or can't transcend?
So, like, give me an example.
So like at the Conjuring house.
Okay. So there was, yeah, and they just won't move on, kind of a thing. I don't think those are spirits, especially in that house. I actually think that would be an example of the dark stuff. Yeah, and those things, well, here's the thing. This is a long explanation. I could talk literally for 10 years about this, but I'm going to break it down. All things at all times within the universe, from the lowest, sketchiest vibration to the highest, most benevolent, most loving, most one-centered, all things are consistently and constantly moving to the highest point of light. Always, it's just this giant spiral of transcendence that is happening over the entire existence of the universe. With that in mind, all things are transcending. Even the dark stuff is transcended. It's at least becoming less dark over time. But why isn't it happening now? Because everything takes its own time, including all of us. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I've slammed my head at the same spot on the same wall over and over again, hoping for a different result. And then eventually over time thought, oh, I'm going to try this differently. I'm going to look at this differently. I'm going to take a bit different perspective on this or whatever. That's an example of transcendence. That's an example of leveling up in an experience. And so all things on all vibrations, all dimensional spaces are constantly transcending. They're ascending to a higher point of light always. There's maybe not the time that we want them to.
Right.
Yeah.
And one last question from Terry. Is
Sure.
there a difference between using a Ouija board and using a pendulum? Both seem to me to be asking spirits questions.
They're different in the sense that they do different things. They're similar in the sense that they both use kinetic energy, so your body's energy to create movement. The pendulum obviously using far less. All tools need to be used responsibly. Ouija boards can be dangerous because the spirit really does link into your energy to make that board move. Pendulums, I don't think it's as intense. There's not as much of an integration that happens, a temporary integration that happens. So there is a difference. But all tools are just tools. I mean, if someone really knows how to use a Ouija board, they'll do it safely and effectively and accurately. If somebody that shouldn't be using a pendulum uses a pendulum, they may feel ungrounded afterwards. So that's what I would say with that.
So I'm going to leave it up to you. Would you like to do some readings?
Sure, let's do a few. Let me grab a pen
Woohoo!
and paper.
Okay.
All right. Let's see.
Everybody get ready.
All right. So I'm going to ask that my spirit guides, angels, and loved ones step in to help me bring through messages and information from people from their loved ones and spirit guides. All right. So this is either for somebody watching now or who's going to watch a replay of this later. Let's see what we got. All right. So I'm getting an older female coming in from spirit. She's immediately showing me the month of February and the number 12. So this could be February 12th, or it could be the 12th of another month. Immediately, I can feel that she had massive breathing problems, major lung problems at her end of life or at her time of passing. She's also showing me April or springtime also is important to her. So this can be, again, birth, death, or something else that's significant. She's talking about someone named Jim or Jimmy. It could be James, but I'm going more of like a Jim or Jimmy vibe. Whoever this Jim person is, I don't know if they're in spirit or on earth, but I can definitely feel their presence. They are wanting to come forward for a woman that has been struggling significantly at an emotional level over the last, I'm going to say, 6 years or so. I feel like the struggle is not related to this person's passing. I also want to say that the kinds of struggles that this person is experiencing are largely emotional, but I also feel physical. I'm going into the lower part of my body. So this could be like reproductive area or maybe a little bit higher than that, but that's the area that I'm drawn to. So if someone can understand this, who's either watching this now or watching this later, I want to say that, first of all, these physical and emotional issues are going to resolve for you in the year 2022, so the year that we're going into. I feel like this woman that's coming forward could be a mother or a grandmother energy. So that is the first message that I get. And I'm going to get a new piece of paper because that took up most of it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Christine Bellini, will my daughter Alexandra be financially secure in her life? She will be, but not until 2023. And that's like really solidly secure. So I think it will be a process moving towards that, but it will be really good. Let's see. Pamela says, I would love a message. So write down your name, Pamela. Let's see what we get for you. All right. So as I'm stepping into your energy, Pamela, the first thing I want to do is talk a little bit about the aura colors that I can see around you, because I really, really like them. As I was tuning into your energy, I saw a lot of red, and red in the places that I'm seeing it in your aura. A lot of that is about being clairsentient and empathic and feeling very emotionally and energetically sensitive. And I really feel strongly that you are moving into a period of major raising of vibration, major connection to the divine, to spirit, to the universe. They're also talking about a man who is alive that is connected to you that struggles with depression and anxiety. And I feel like this man is a really good person that can often be misunderstood, or people don't fully understand, his intentions or his thought process or whatever this is. I want to say that he will find healing for this, but he needs to make the first step towards that. A woman named Lynn, or an L named female, but I'm really drawn to the name Lynn, is going to step into his life in the month of August, and she's going to massively help this person a lot. For you, Pamela, I feel like going into the new year, things are going to be really good for you. Just continue being present on your path. Continue checking in with yourself, because they're saying the only thing that could possibly throw you off your path, or, well, not really off your path, but make you feel like you're off your path, is to not be self-aware. So if you can work on being self-aware, things are going to be good. That was for Pamela.
And let's see, Terry says that first message might be for me. I can resonate with it all.
Awesome. And you were the only one who claimed it, Terry, so I'm going to agree with you. That's for you. And thank you for letting me know, or us know. I'm getting a man stepping forward from spirit. Let me get a new piece of paper out. Ow, I just hit my microphone with my head. That was loud in my ears. Oh, man. I'm getting a man coming forward from spirit. He comes in as not very old at his time of passing. I could place him possibly around middle age, but I actually feel like that would be the oldest he could possibly be. So I'm going to say maybe he was in his 40s or 50s. I feel that he passed away from a blockage in an artery in his heart. And I feel like it was very fast. I get a very, very, very fast passing. So I think that he was instantly unconscious. And I think he did not. I think that he passed away not long after that. I also want to say, personality wise, he was hilarious. He loved to make people laugh. I feel like he had the biggest heart ever. I feel like he just was an overjoyed kind of person. And I also think he could be a real pain in the neck. I think that he was sarcastic and dry, but in a kind of an endearing way. And I think he was profoundly stubborn. He's showing me this zodiac sign of Taurus, which is why I'm saying he was stubborn. He could also be a Taurus or could have been a Taurus on Earth, but I very much feel am drawn to this like kind of stick in the mud energy, but in a sort of endearing way. I also want to say that at the end of his life, he's telling me a great day. So the day that this happened on was a really, really, really positive day for him. And I feel like there was other people around. So I get the feeling this may have happened at a gathering or there was people around when he had this obstruction happen in his heart. I also feel like he wants to reach out to two people. One is a woman that was very connected to him, somebody very close to him, and he says that you can still nag me, I can still hear you. That's funny. And then the man that he wants to reach out to, I think, either could be a brother to him or a very, very close male friend who has taken this really, really, really hard and is incredibly like just, I mean, inconsolable about this gentleman's passing. Um, I don't know. I just heard Richard or Rick as a name shouted out from Spirit. So again, I don't know if that's the person in Spirit's name or if this is somebody that they're referencing, but I heard Richard or Rick. Let's see if he wants to say anything else. Whoever this is for, he's bringing me into your bathroom, and I can see the toilet directly across from your tub, as many bathrooms have. But he's bringing me to the back of the toilet, the part that you lift off. Something isn't right about it. So if it's broken, if it's not working, you need to replace it, whatever that back part of the toilet, the tank, like the tank cover, go look there. If the rest of this makes sense and you go to your bathroom and you say, oh my gosh, yes, Matthew was right, this needs to be replaced, this message is definitely for you.
Amanda actually says 56, my dad.
Mm-hmm.
My dad had bowel obstruction. He was also very sarcastic. I'm a Taurus. He's a Virgo.
Oh, okay. The only thing with that is the bowel obstruction and a heart obstruction feel totally different.
Mhm.
Yeah, bowel obstruction is much lower. If you go into your bathroom and you can understand that toilet part, though, I will say that it was for you and I misinterpreted the where the obstruction was. But that would be my only caveat with that. If you go into your bathroom and you see there's something that needs to be replaced on the top of your toilet tank, then the message was for you. Yeah. And I think maybe that's even why that came in.
Mhm.
Yeah. Let's see. I'm just looking at the questions here to see where I'm drawn. Oh, Carla Rastall would love anything that comes through for me. Carla, you are on the brink of a lot of change. They're saying your spirit guides are coming forward. They're saying the ending that you've been asking for of the current difficulties is at hand. This is something that's coming very soon. I see that you are moving into major rebirth. Like, I mean, a really big one. You're ending a 10-year cycle, but also an overarching cycle that's been 17 years. So there's a lot happening. There's a lot that has happened. They're saying that over the next 6 to 8 weeks, things are going to surface within you. Things are going to come up that you can, that are old memories, old thoughts, old feelings, things like that. And as they surface, they're saying you just have to like acknowledge them, let them go. You don't have to sit with them forever, just process them. And on the other side of that, you're going to feel absolutely amazing. They're also saying that you tend to carry a lot of burdens for other people. And a part of this healing that you're going through, this part of this chapter ending, is going to be helping you to not do that as at such a personal level. And it's going to be amazing. Really good things are coming for you. Really good. I'm excited about it. I think I might be zonking out though. A little bit. I'll do one more question. I'll do one more question. Let's see. There was somebody's name that I was drawn to. I'm just going to kind of scroll up to see if there's still. It was the person that was asking the really interesting questions. There was the dark paranormal.
That would be full dark paranormal.
Yeah. Are they still with us?
I don't think I haven't seen her post. She's probably still with us, but I haven't seen her.
All right. If she's here, she should let us know in the chat so that I can
Come on up, Amy. Ah, there she is.
All right. Whoa, I just hit my microphone again. All right. So I'm gonna write down full dark paranormal. Let's see what we get for you because I was drawn to you. Okay, so immediately I want to talk to you a little bit about grounding. I want to talk to you. Your spirit guides are coming forward. They're saying it's very important to really, when you're grounding yourself, to let it go all the way down. They're saying it's getting a little bit stuck at your root. So they're saying when you feel overwhelmed, when you feel anxious, it's because things are getting stuck at your root and it's backing all the energy up through you. And they're giving you this feeling that sometimes you just feel like you've been run over by a bus. And they're wanting to now talk about your physical health, your physical well-being. I've got to say, I'm not a doctor, but I've got to say that this is what they want to talk about. And they're talking about imbalances at an immune system level. So it could be like an autoimmune condition or something like that. They're saying it's very, very subtle. And this is something that will come to light between April of 2022 and April of 2023. They're wanting you to know that when this shows up in your path, that you are going to completely recover from this, or it will be completely treatable with help or whatever. They're saying that part of the reason why you feel zonked all the time and just like you've been hit by a bus out of nowhere is partially because of this ungroundedness and partially possibly because of something physical going on. But they're saying you are going to make a full recovery from whatever this is. It's something that's genetic or inherited, but I feel like the last person to have this is a either great-grandmother or great-great-grandmother. And I feel like this person is stepping forward for you, and they passed away young, either in or just after childbirth. And I feel like whoever this woman is, I do not feel like you would have known her. I think she's an ancestral spirit. I feel like she passed way before you came along. And I want to say that she says that this condition is something that she also had or carried. I don't feel like you have to run out and do anything about this right now. I feel like this is something that will come to light naturally. Or on its own. But they are saying, I think the reason this is coming through, that if this is accurate, if this does happen, you will make a complete and full recovery from this, and to not be afraid, just continue going forward. So it's a weird message, but it is what's coming in. And I feel like this could even cause headaches or migraines because I'm getting tension running up the back of my head as I'm in your energy.
I work on grounding aspects a lot more lately and have been for about a year now.
That's probably why they're bringing it up. So their advice with that is just like really let the energy go all the way out of you. They're saying you're at okay. They're saying, and this could either be in your own visualization or your own awareness, but they're saying you're trying to watch the energy fully leave you. It's holding it in your root. Just trust that it's on its way out when you ground.
And she says, well, this was surprisingly good news after all.
Good. Good. I think she's going to do really big things in her path, by the way. She's a medium. I don't know if she knows it yet, but she is. And this is going to become a big thing for her.
I met them years ago and just love her and her partner. Just wonderful people.
There we go. Carrie says, oh my God, the back of my toilet is leaking. My uncle passed of massive heart attack at 32. That was him.
That was him. There we go. Oh, this has been so wonderful. Now, he on Mondays on his Facebook page, he does readings. So if he didn't get to y'all can always go to his Facebook page on Mondays and slip in there and ask away. So I've loved every bit of this. This has been so fun.
I had a really good time. I loved everybody's questions. I have to say that in terms of questions coming in a chat, this was the most diverse interview I think I've ever done. And I loved every second of it. And I'm truly grateful for everyone watching and joining in and interacting, and obviously for you for having me here.
Yes.
And you know, it's just been really awesome. And the cool guy with a good accent in the background making all the magic happen behind the scenes. Very grateful for him as well.
Well, that's one reason why I'm because most people usually go, oh wait, and the last half hour you get questions, but to me I want people to be able to interact with their special person that they follow, and this gives them the ability, and I'm grateful that they're here interacting. So
Me
you
too.
know
This
I, I try to be as
awesome.
grateful as possible, and this is my gift to everybody that are coming and watching, is that they can ask questions. And I
I
tend
think oh, sorry, I cut you
no,
off.
go ahead.
No, I think it's awesome. Like, this format's great, and you're an absolute pleasure. Like, this was a lot of fun, and
Oh,
your
thank you.
viewers, and I've recognized a few names from my page of people that I see on
Hmm.
there regularly. So that's awesome, because it's almost like bringing a little bit of home with me
Yeah.
on a road trip, through the internet to do this interview. So I'm very grateful for everybody, and on all of this experience was great.
Oh, well, thank you so much for taking your time, asking all these questions, and then doing readings. I am so very grateful. Thank you so
Anytime,
much.
anytime. This was awesome.
Well, if you don't mind, don't let him leave yet. I just want to say thank you to everybody. Um, I am grateful that you all are here, that you've all enjoyed yourselves. um, Next month, um, the next interview is going to be um, Phil, and he is with Horsefly Chronicles. And it's about haunting that him and his family deal with. So that is my next interview in 2 weeks. So I look forward to seeing everybody. Thank you so much for coming. Y'all have been wonderful. Y'all have been a pleasure. And have a wonderful, wonderful night. And have a wonderful weekend and a happy new year. So thank you.